Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today good question, on October 4th, 2024 at approximately 4:32 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I personally guide almost every move I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before I get into it, today we're looking at aliens, the triple helix, and its use in hybridization. But before we go down that road, let's get a few things out of the way. Number one, although you can't see him really at the top of the screen anymore, Woo Rider is in with the gold. Hopefully you're still floating around there, Woo. Then we've got Storm, who set everything up in the background. And like I said, Storm is the lead moderator, which means I don't get to have a heart attack. Between his effort to make sure that any problem children that are threatening the safety of this place, for other people and me, and other complications, not least of which is technology. Frank does a fabulous job of keeping that out of the way. And by the way, I'm the one that asked him to throw people out without warning. Lots of warnings at the top. Okay. Now, we do have Renee. You are in with the silver. How you doing, Renee? Glad you could join us. And LA Moon. Now, this is the other primary moderator we've got that quite frankly goes out of her way to make sure I don't turn around and have a heart attack to start with. Okay, so this is what I mean by having the right support behind me. Now, Joe Stewart is in with the bronze. How's it going, Joe? All in all, things are picking up pace. We are now up to 6 watching. We've got 637 subscribers. So yes, we are starting to grow. And again, guys, I'm starting to book things ahead of time, so let me just make sure I've got this organized right. I am looking at... We are already booked until Friday. Friday, I've got to mark that in. Actually, Monday, I think. But if you have a topic you would really like to have brought up, absolutely bring it to my attention. Either pop it into the chat room here, or pop it into me in an email or whatever. Okay. Now, that said, we have Eternity Eternal is in with the honorable mention. How you doing, Eternity? Now, we are starting to move forward, but let's start this off. I'm doing my best to get organized, at least a little bit more configured. With this in mind, we start with taking a look at the double helix. And again, guys, if you've got a question, I am no medical doctor, but I will tell you what I can figure and what I figured out. Okay, so we start by looking at the double helix, which is what modern science has been working on for decades. Even back when I was in high school, I used to tell people, because I was tossed into, get this, after being diagnosed mentally retarded, they threw me into a course in theoretical genetics. I love it. I graduated on the honor roll. It worked out well. Now, just think where I'd be standing now, or where you may be standing, if you hadn't been diagnosed with something that absolutely shut down your ability to move forward. If you bought into it, which sad to say, I did. Okay, picture what would happen if being diagnosed mentally retarded, I still graduated on the honor roll with theoretical genetics under my belt. Okay. Ultimately, I could have been in a lot better shape. I bought into what everybody else was telling me. Now, here's the thing. The double helix, okay, kind of looks like a ladder that's been corkscrewed. Okay, if you're looking at it under a microscope. So I don't know if you are aware of what the double helix is, but essentially what it boils down to is it's most of the building blocks for the corporeal genome. Now, on Earth, in the solar system, okay, we have a double helix kind that if you only look at part of the genetic coding, and that's where they made the mistake, it lays out everything you're capable of. Well, in growth function. Now, I told people back in the 70s, back in the mid to late 70s, meaning I was in grade 10 and 11. Okay, I was telling people then that the double helix wasn't all there was involved. Okay, now if I lose you, for pity's sakes, ask. Okay, because we are going to go down the road, and we're going to go down one heck of a rabbit hole here. And then we're going to turn around and drop it in your lap so you can put it to use. Now, with the double helix, it gives you most of the information, as in on the gross level, where your personality comes from, where your physical makeup comes from. Now, here's the kicker. Okay, when a child gets damaged, okay, when a child gets hurt, the double helix is what, and you've got a copy of the double helix in every single cell in the body. Okay, so when your body gets hurt, the mind already knows what's wrong, immediately accesses the information in a healthy cell and starts to rebuild. Now get this, with the abilities you can access in the double helix, okay, you can regenerate a lot of the damage that's been done to your body. Now I caution you, this is in conjunction with modern medicine, herbalistic approaches, naturopathic approaches, counseling. All of it is part and parcel of the whole healing system. Okay, this is the important factor we have to look at, because with the double helix, it shows you why, if you hold your hand up, yours likely separates. Mine doesn't. There's a lot of reasons for that. Now, this one, as you can see, separates a little, but only temporarily. As it gets more solidly reconnected, since my stroke, my left hand is actually separated a bit. But it used to be right after the stroke hit, these two fingers would separate when I went to open my hand. Now they're pulling back together. This is what the double helix does. It looks at the damage and goes, we're not going to handle this. We're going to put this back where it belongs. Now, the neat part there is on every other planet that I've been to. Okay, and you can do what you will with that. I'm not here to prove one way or the other. But I will tell you this. For those of you that think I'm claiming to be an expert, not a prayer. My brother, before he passed away, well, decades before he passed away, told me exactly what an expert is. Okay. And he looked at me and he goes, never claim to be an expert. I said, well, obviously, but what's your take on it? He said, look, an expert is an unknown, an unknown drip under pressure, also known as a spurt. So, I am not claiming to be an expert. I'll absolutely claim to be unknown. I will also absolutely claim to be a bit of a dip. And we have Neo Templar. How we doing, Neil? Glad you could join us. Here, you by any chance related to the Neo out of Matrix? That was bad, I know. But the reality is when a child gets hurt, and it's proven really clearly when a child gets brain damage, the body will regenerate itself because it's already got the perfect blueprint. What we unfortunately are taught as we're growing up is that you certainly do that as a child. Okay. You certainly do that as a child, but we're taught as you get older, you can't do that anymore. I ask you this, aside from the fact you've been told you can't do it anymore, okay, why can't you? Now, I was told as you get older, your body breaks down, you start to gain excess weight, your eyes collapse, your hearing goes out the window. Okay, point in fact, I am 61 years old. By accessing my understanding of the double helix and what we're about to get into, what I've done is I'm in better physical shape than I was when I was 30. In 2015, if I were holding on to my glasses just like this, I could not physically see them. So my eyesight now is back to 2020, where it comes to reading books. Okay, I still require it to read the computer or to drive. Well, I don't have to have it to drive. The sidewalk doesn't have very many people on it, very many cars on it. And yeah, The Matrix was a great movie. I managed to watch all 3 of them. But as a matter of fact, I've watched all 4 of them now. But when we take a look at the double helix, you've got access to heal your body. I will tell you, if you are not entirely aware of what you're doing, I strongly recommend if your body gets hurt, go to a regular doctor, somebody that's been trained. If you're seeing them now, stay with them if they're working. Okay, the thing is, what I'm talking about is what you can do in conjunction. Actually, in all fairness, Neil, the first one, I was literally told by another lady I was working with, I had to see it. I actually enjoyed the whole concept, but I never bought into the idea that so many of you out there have. Oh, we're living in a mock-up. We're living in a matrix. No, we're not. Sorry, guys, not a computer program. Trust me, here's one dead giveaway for me. Okay, this will tell you exactly why we cannot be living in a computer program. I fry the poor things when I get frustrated. Now, if that's the case, we would all be dead. Well, you would be. I wouldn't have existed in the first place. The nice part about it, the one thing, and this goes sideways on us, but the one thing that the movie The Matrix does do is shows you can do whatever you would like to do within reason. But newsflash, get off your tail feathers. Matt Geek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And by the way, your recommendation to go to an iPhone worked like an absolute charm. Yes, that was years ago. Now, when we take a look at the double helix, okay, it's got a complete roadmap. And this is why I said, if you take your hands, okay, put them palms towards each other, okay, keep them about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch apart, and concentrate. You will feel an energy field between them. You may call it heat, you may call it a magnetic pull, you may call it a pulse. Heck, I don't care if you call it silly putty. Okay, you'll feel it. There's no doubt there in my heart at all. That said, that is the energy that we work with. That is what you may know as an auric field, or as the 0 point energy. By concentrating on that and running one word through your head, heal, you're telling your body, put itself back in alignment. You don't have to know what's wrong with you. You don't have to know why your eyesight is in trouble. Okay, my eyesight works like a charm. I hear quite often on the subquantum level. Threw my poor youngest out today. Threw him right off track. He was talking on his phone 25 feet away behind a closed door, and I heard what the woman on the phone was saying to him. Just totally threw him for a loop, and he frankly lives with me. But when we look at the double helix, understand it's already in your body. It already knows what isn't running smoothly. All you got to do is give it the go-ahead. You don't have to understand what it's going to do. I mean, let's face it. I'm betting dollars to donuts. You don't argue as to whether or not oxygen works or whether or not gravity has an effect on you. I'm pretty certain that you don't likely understand the mechanics behind either, but you don't question whether they work. Okay. What do we got going on here? Yes, Neil, we are on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Okay, we are there from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Pacific. So I'm in for a very long night tonight, but things are going well, so I'm good. The thing with the double helix is this. Okay, you already have the capacity to do whatever you set your mind to. But I will warn you, okay, your changing your life is not going to just happen by going, oh God, please make my life better. Or universe, grant me this this insight. This is not the way it works. That's only part of the equation. Okay. Because in order for it to work, you have to get off your tail feathers. It's like I've shown you multiple times in the last little while. I thought it was funny when I got a twisted sense of humor. But I thought it was comical in a sense. When I said, okay, all these great tools are out there for, it's a 7-second trick, and a week down the road, your life will be better. I'm impatient. Okay, so I'm going to show you one again. This is a 6-second. We timed it one day. Actually, it'll take me a little longer because the hip's not working right. But we timed it one day, LA Moon and I, while we were on air. Mike, Bob, and Bothwell, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Here's a neat little trick. Now, I'm not going to drag it out for a week. Okay. We're going to look at this. The goal. I'm not content with the pen in my hand. Keep that one there because I like that one. I'm not content with the pencil in my hand. So, now we know change is difficult, change is scary, change is frightening. Okay? Here we go. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to think about it. And I'm going to do the first thing that we all talk about. Let's all put our hands together and you sit there and let's all pray this works. I'm going to pray that this pencil lands on that shelf back there. Okay. I'm going to pray and I'm going to get your help to pray with me. And if you don't like praying, if that term doesn't agree with you, try the positive affirmation. This pencil is going to end up on that shelf. Now watch this. We all sit there. You can pray. You can just have positive affirmations. Get in any insanely uncomfortable position you'd like. Watch what happens. It went over there, but you heard that clump. Okay. Now, I'm going to walk over here, and I got to pick it up off the floor. That is what prayer and or positive affirmations, all centered in the double helix, work. That's how that part works. Now get this. I'm going to show you the other method. We're going to take this same pencil, okay, and now we're going to ensure it goes out of there. We're going to pray it gets there. We're going to use all the affirmations we can think of, all the uncomfortable positioning that you can put yourself through. Okay, now you get off your tail feathers, walk across the room, and we put it on the counter. Now, I'm just showing you in a matter of seconds, certainly less than a minute and a half, how to change your life. Okay, now with that in mind, this funny little book here, okay, amongst others, this is Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. This book shows you exactly the tools I used to take my life from an absolute shambles to being able to do what I'm doing here. Now, shift gears. We're going to move forward on the triple helix. Now, like I told you, the double helix looks like a ladder, basically, that's been corkscrewed. The triple helix looks more like a speaker stand. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is it's got the two strands. Okay. Now, sorry, they're not exactly parallel, but live with it. The triple helix, all that modern science was able to see until about a decade ago, their technology would only see the two. But what they discovered as technology improved is there's a third strand. Okay. Now, needless to say, this means that what the double helix couldn't explain, you've got now almost 2 times again the amount of information you had. Okay. The triple helix will explain to you, or will explain to your body, how you can do such neat little things as improve your health by literally mind over body. Get the medical assistance, get the nutritional assistance, talk to your friends, talk to anybody that has successfully set out to do what you're aiming for. Okay, and yes, we are going to get to where all of this fits with the hybridization program. Now understand, every other planet that I've operated on, that I've gone and taken a look at, you do what you will with that. You know, I'll let you know quite readily. I have been to 3 licensed psychiatrists, countless counselors, okay, and who knows how many students of psychology, psychiatry, and the like. All of them have told me the same thing. I'm perfectly sane. Okay, but as my little brother pointed out, he goes, you know, I don't think you're nuts, Keith, but the way you talk makes you sound like you're nuts. Well, here's the thing. How many people in history were so far ahead of the game that they were seen as insane and got locked up? Not the least of which, I believe, Leonardo da Vinci got locked up for years because they thought he was right off his nut. Okay, I'm lucky. They came up and found out I was sane, so I didn't go and do any time in the rubber room. Yeah, I know, that's derogatory. Oh, we can't say that because it's going to upset somebody. Probably will. Okay, but the reality is I've never been known to be subtle. You know, I tried. I bit my tongue for years. The triple helix will tell you how, when we look at what I have done for a living for decades, okay, and again, this is accessible at the top on the Buy Me a Coffee link. Okay, I have worked as a professional psychic, working with business and personal lives since 1986. Okay, and I've done that my entire life, essentially. I really started doing it since 1973. But with that in mind, if you are looking for the psychic consultant side of it, I am doing it. Okay, I have decided I'm going to do it. The link is up in the Buy Me a Coffee. It's really expensive. Now, understanding I used to get charged. I used to charge. No, I got paid in excess of $2,600 an hour for a session. Okay, I charge a mind-boggling $20 for 15 minutes. But the only thing I will guarantee is I won't lie to you and make you feel better. Now, how does that apply to the triple helix? Well, here's the thing. Okay, every one of you has this same capacity, but the massive majority of you, first of all, were taught as you got older, as you passed the age of 5, maybe 6 years old, you were taught a really neat phrase. Well, that's a wonderful imagination you've got there, son or daughter. Now it's time to grow up and and behave. It's time to enter the adult world. Okay, net result, psychic capacity got shut down. That neat little thing called an imaginary friend. I'm sure some of you used to have them. Okay, that neat little thing called an imaginary friend went the way of the dodo bird because you were taught it wasn't part of the physical world. But let me ask you, okay, people like Alexander Graham Bell, who is credited, I believe, with the telephone. I'm no history buff, so we're going to go with I believe. Okay, when you look at that, that comes from the creative mind. That wonderfully imaginative individual, Stephen King, that happens to still write suspense novels. Some people call them horror. Don't care if you call them lunch. Okay. The fact is, he's making decent money at it. Okay. Right now, that triple helix has enabled me to develop the ability to write in 5 different languages or 5 different genres: science fiction, science fantasy, reference, self-help, children's, and poetry, and probably a couple of other subsets. I don't know. All of it is available, but I will tell you this. Whatever you are thinking of, whatever you'd like to look at in the way of personal goals, okay, you've got the capacity. Do not make the mistake of letting anybody tell you you can't do it. One of the biggest tools I found was this one. Okay. These 4 words. Okay. I am worth it. If you haven't done so already, get them on your fridge. Okay. I've got a copy of them there. I've got one above my computer, one on my fridge, and one on my front door. Okay. And of course, every book that I send out. Okay. Every book that I do send out that I've written, I send one of these bookmarks with it. So you don't even have to write it if you choose not to. Of course, to get one of those bookmarks, sorry guys, it comes part and parcel with, well, no, I'm not sorry. It comes part and parcel with the books when I'm selling them. Now, here is the other side of this. As I said at the beginning, mankind knew about the double helix. About 10 years ago, the leading research centers around the world discovered that the peoples of Earth have a triple helix. They finally picked it up. But here's a neat little thing. Let's go back a few thousand years. Okay. And we have an interesting situation where off-worlders started to arrive in the quadrant. Okay. Now, we're going to discuss some of these a little later. The Anunnaki, which quite frankly evolved here, and we'll get to that I think the Anunnaki is, when is that? Friday? When do we deal with the Anunnaki?
That'll be on Saturday.
That's on Saturday. There we go. I was trying to see it on my calendar. But the Anunnaki, I've had to reclassify. I've got them listed as an off-world race in Races of the Worlds. They are an ancient race. Okay, but they come along. They evolved. No problem. When the Eniod came in, the the Gadefni showed up on Earth. Okay, the Moldocs arrived. I can go on. But it wasn't until the Reticulans got here with their medical expertise, or their research expertise, if you will. Rachel, how you doing? Glad you could join us. When the Reticulans got here and they found out that man was packing, that the people of this planet were packing the triple helix, that was when they turned around, when the Reticulans turned around and went, hey, we can work with this because this makes it more adaptable with other species. Other species have tried the hybridization thing with lesser degrees of success. Even the Pleiadians, who are absolutely brilliant when it comes to medical, they were not the ones that developed the hybridization, because the Pleiadians are interested in healing people, not in modifying and not in connecting. The Reticulans came along, found out that, yes, the double helix was here, but it's part of the triple helix. We are unique in that respect, as far as I've been able to tell. Uh-oh. Now I'm hungry, Rachel. What are we having for supper? Just because I'm nosy. And no, clearly I'm asking yes. Do you have to answer alpha? Obviously not. When the Reticulans figured out, discovered the triple helix here, they all of a sudden turned around and went, okay, we can work with this. Net result, and I did you can look this up on a prior video where I went into more detail on what the triple, or what the hybridization program was for. Ultimately, the short answer, growing cultural interpreters. Okay, growing interspecies cultural interpreters. But the triple helix has the information that is available, making it easier to cross-connect it. Okay, now, don't require that, require this. As you can see, this neat little list method, I'm going to use a lot more readily here. Where are we? Now, just gotta keep an eye on time. I've actually worked it out so I can work to a degree with the timing factor. When we look at the triple helix, it will explain not only hair color, but the shockwave system. It was also through the knowledge caught up in the triple helix, which gives you that extra strand and 2 sets of ladders. Gives you access to the Akashic records, which are run by the Zerziks. They're maintained by the Zerziks, I should say. Okay. And quite literally, with what I've come to understand, you call him, and I'll use the term because it's easy, of God. Okay. Now, his more accepted name, from what I've gathered when you look across the board, is the prime originator. He's the one that opened the door. Now, even according to him, there's somebody above him, somebody older than him. I'm not going to get into the theological debate of that one. Okay, you can figure that one out. Or ask me in private, or call me on your show. I'll be happy to deal with it. Oh, there we go. And Rachel goes, warmed up leftover rice with hot sausages and veggies. Added fresh broccoli, celery, and mushrooms. Gee, you cook, and that is a normal for me. I'll cook something like that up in the slow cooker, pack it into the freezer in single dish servings, and then I've got food for a week sorted out. I will tell you, That little trick there that you used, Rachel, to do that cost a few dollars. I was spending $300 to $400 a month, so I didn't have to cook. I can no longer do that. Boy, there's a question I gotta ask. I will do that after the show, though. But that's just me thinking out loud. With the triple helix, okay, the ability to see beyond the norm, to see beyond the lock time. Now, here's the thing. It was a triple helix that my memories brought back an interesting piece of information. Now, I'm curious. Do any one of you know what Einstein's theory of relativity was that he turned over to the scientists early in the 1900s? Anybody at all got it? It might have been the mid 1900s for all I know. Anybody got any idea what it was or what it is, according to what he left the scientists? That's just a curiosity thing. I'm about to tell you what I know anyway, and you get to argue with yourself because I'm beyond the point of arguing with how I know it. Understand, my memories date back a long time. Okay, and according to the amount of corroborating evidence I've had, I'm just going to go with it. But with the triple helix, you get access to the Akashic records. You can go back, call on your memories from a past life or from all of them and bring your mind up to speed. Bingo, Cowie. Now, what would you do if I told you that mathematical equation, which E equals mc squared, literally means energy equals mass times acceleration and squared. Now, funny thing is, that mathematical equation works very, very effectively. But here's something to think about. The theory of relativity I was handed, 1 plus 1 equals 3. By the way, not mathematics. Okay, and that's what threw the scientists off track. When you can wrap your brain around that, then we get into all sorts of neat little things. Because that little theory of relativity is a mathematical equation that works. Okay, but hear me out. Take just a pencil. Okay, one end is 1. Then we have plus 1, the other end. You now have 2. But all of this space in between, any point in between, is the third point. 1 plus 1 equals 3. Okay, think about it. You have everything built on 3s. Okay, well, almost everything. I mean, let's face it. Now, I'm going to blow your brains right out the window here, metaphorically. Did you realize you actually have 3 eyes? Only the problem is, the third eye is not what you're likely thinking if you're following the metaphysical field. This is something else that the reticulans figured out. By the way, for those of you that don't know, the reticulans are also known by most of you as the Greys. Okay, I am in the process of putting a book together this size called Meet the Reticulans. Okay, nope. Although that's very important, Matt Geek is going the pineal gland. And I'm going to tell you where the third eye is. Yeah. Ellie Moon goes, I know, my ma sure did. Yeah. You remember the tale of the boomerang shoe. Honestly, Cowie, I don't know. Cowie's asking, does that relate to the Fermi paradox? I don't know what the Fermi paradox is, so I've got a little bit of a hiccup there. I am no scientist. To be clear, well, none by clinical training. They threw me out of biology and chemistry. Okay, and then threw me into theoretical genetics and optics. Okay, here's where it is. You got your two eyes. But be careful with this one. Go to the back of your neck, right in that little divot at the base of the skull. Right there is your third eye. That one, and it's already been scientifically proven in some of the more advanced universities. Your brain through the back, right at the base of the skull, right connected to the cerebral cortex, is a third optical input. Okay, and yeah, the massive majority of you have hair in front of it. And then you get the few perfect heads. This third eye enables you to pick up information from behind you, in front of you, beside you, because don't forget, your ears work really well for picking up hearing, theoretically. Now, of course, in my case, and it's been proven, I'm not going back to a lab to prove it again, thanks very much, but I pick up noise and pick up sounds on the subquantum level. That we will get to momentarily. Kelly's asking any suggestions to open the third eye. And there's a couple that you can do very easily. Okay. One of the best ones, of course, I keep putting my hands this way, but I gotta do something with them. You know, there are days when I figure if I hold my fingers together, my hands won't move around so much. That doesn't work very well. But if you take your two hands, put them palms towards each other, half an inch to an inch apart, okay, and literally, while you're feeling that energy, run that single word, heal, through your head. You will find that it opens the door quite nicely. You'll start sensing things. There's other tricks. Okay. Another one, and do I have it handy? Where is it? Oh. Where did I put it? Right there. Standard household items. Okay, or things commonly found in places in normal households will accommodate this. Okay. This here is a standard set of cards. Well, I'll use the term standard a little loosely. I don't know if it says on it. No. But you can't see it. But this deck, I have no idea how I came across it. Okay, I do know I gotta repair the box. But this deck is just a standard deck. Okay, might be a little hard to read, but this deck happens to be a really neat one, in as much as if you look at the end of it, it's gold flaked. I have no idea how I came across it. But take a standard deck of cards. Okay, you can buy them in any dollar store. Okay, put them face down on the table. Shuffle them up properly, put them face down on the table. Then, and I'm not going to do it right now. Okay, I'm not as good at this as I'd like to be, but you pick it up facing away from you. Okay, and you start off literally as you pull it off the deck, facing away from you, decide, is this a red card or a black one? Okay, call it what you will, set the red ones in one pile, the black in another. Okay, don't look at any of them, not yet. Okay, this is just a tool to enhance that third eye. The ability to sense what you're hanging on to. Okay, now, there are 52 cards in the standard deck. Okay, just so you don't throw your count off, I'd recommend pulling the jokers out. You put them aside. Once you've gone through all 52 cards, count them. The ratio you're looking for is 13, which means 20, which means you want 13 wrong and the other 39 correct. Okay, we're talking 75% success. That's your starting marker. When you are picking the color with a 75% accuracy level or better, make it more complicated. Still using the same deck of cards. Okay, but now you're splitting it into suits. Okay, so we go to the suits. Same idea. You're looking for 75% accuracy. Go through it time and again, however long it takes. Okay, but remember, you draw them off the deck and face them away from you, so you're looking at the back of the card. Of course, in this case, you probably don't want to use these cards because they're almost transparent. Although I do like the type of them. But, again, you're looking for 75% accuracy. If you're getting 75% wrong, take a break, rethink it. You're picking the energy up backwards. This is normal. Once you get your suits coming up at the 75, swap over the number. Okay. And again, same ratio, but now you're dealing with, you start with 2, go to 4, jump to 13 numbers. Okay. As in 1 to 10 plus the face cards. When you get the numbers done, now you go after number and suit. Okay. And again, okay, what you're doing is enhancing your ability. Pull it up facing away from you. Decide what it is. Put it down wherever you feel it should be. Okay. Once you are hitting 75% number and suit, go to Vegas. And I'll leave that at that point. Bear in mind, this is not counting cards. This is seeing them. Okay. Now, I will tell you, you start using something like that in Vegas, and they figure it out, they're likely going to put a ban on you being there. However, enjoy it while it works. Now, there are other techniques. I'll get into them on a different day. Okay, bear in mind, I got so many things on the go. This is just one of them. But it was an excellent question there. Now, when the reticulans figured out that all humans were born with this triple, they discovered they could all of a sudden put that to use and make it work. Okay, so I do hope that helps there, Cowie, and any of the rest of you that are listening. Okay, and it's things like that. The only thing I will say is just a reminder, if you've got questions, put them in all caps. It makes it easier for me to find them. Thank you very much for that. Now, when we are looking at this, okay, the reticulum has figured out what the triple could do for them. The reason they started using it is because it turns out humans are very easy to repair. Okay, and because of their curiosity streak, they are essentially like their humans' curiosity. If you explain something to them, will relax a whole lot more readily. They're also easier. Because the triple helix lets that imagination fill in the gaps, it makes it easier to put a mental overlay. Now, humans do the same thing to animals that the reticulans and many other races are doing to humans. Kidnap them, abduct them, call it what you will, take fluid samples, take readings of heart rate and what have you. Now, granted, the reticulans work with a much more refined version. Okay. Not the least of which is they developed a funny little tool called the Dexel Spandalizer, that enables them to take all the samples they require with minimum impact. And that neat little question, well, what does that do? Well, have you ever met anybody or had it yourself where there's been three dots on your body, somewhere on your body, usually someplace almost inaccessible, but two on the bottom, one on the top, essentially looking like an equilateral triangle, usually about the size of a dime, okay, maybe a nickel, with a crossbar underneath it. Okay, this is the mark of the Dexel Spanializer. That is their tracking tool for pulling the cells and fluids and what have you to do all their testing, while simultaneously implanting a tracking device. Now, understand, they work on the subquantum level. The reticulans do. And by the way, before anybody goes there, now you may have already gone there. Anyway, reticulans have, that I've borne witness to, I believe 15 different races. Just like humans have at least 6, probably more. Okay, but in the book I'm writing, the one card that'll be this size, therefore, $20 anywhere in the accessible world. If the mail goes there, it'll go. $20 Canadian. I'm working on pulling together one called Meet the Reticulans, in which we look at the different races. Okay, but they discovered the same things humans sooner or later will figure out. You can be a different race, but you're still the same species. You start getting along, and the reticulans nearly wipe themselves out. And by the way, minor sidetrack, no, the reticulans are not photocopies. They are not striving to clone humanity out of existence. Okay, not doing that. They've got no interest in it. The fact that their empire spans literally, now, I don't know the size of it. I do know it is several star systems wide. Okay, now, they come in here with the access to the triple helix. They now can enhance their studies. Net result, they turn to growing hybrid into developing the hybridization program, in which they are now able to grow cultural interpreters for the peoples of the cosmos. Understand, any computer can be programmed with a series of words and a sentence structure in order to punch it in, and it will turn around and try and give you back a translation in another language. But when you're dealing in Gene Roddenberry of the original Star Trek fame, was the one that pointed it out. The biggest problem is these other species have no context. Okay, you hold on. Well, you take your hands anywhere on Earth. Somebody pulls a gun on you and says, hands up. Everybody on Earth knows. Put your hands up. Okay, now here's the thing. This means I surrender. I don't have anything dangerous. Okay, there is a race out there called the Fuentiren. Okay, and literally, they put their hands up there saying, please come closer, because all they have to do when you come in and you're getting ready to handcuff them, no problem. They close their hands and tense the muscle, and all of a sudden, they've got a spike that pops straight out, and now they're armed. Okay, and their hands are totally closed, but you don't want to get one of those barbs. Okay, so what happened, the reason for the hybridization was to grow cultural interpreters inside the DNA of every corporeal body, and for that matter, non-corporeal. Okay, is the cultural information where we know as humans, you put your hands up like this, everybody pretty much knows that means I give up, don't shoot, I'm complying. The Fuentiran do not do that. Okay, that's just not going to work well for you. So what they did was they hybridized, they combined both cells. Okay, they worked out a way because of the triple helix. They could combine the double helix of the Fuentiran with the triple helix of the human. And net result, you end up with an interesting setup. Now, I will tell you this. They are working on an artificial quad helix. Okay, that one ought to be entertaining to find. To see what they do and what that opens. But it's one of these things that you really look at. Here's the neat thing, Joe. Joe Stewart's just letting us know most people who do believe in the unknown do have a third eye. Absolutely. Absolutely agree. I'm just going to expand that a bit, though. Everybody that is breathing has a third eye. Even those that aren't breathing anymore took the third eye with them, or at least a configuration for it. Okay, but that third eye, and this one here, that most metaphysicians refer to as the third eye, is the center of the Merkaba arc. Okay, another sensory organ. Okay, which is why when the Ennead built the Marcocan implant, okay, that's a neat little headdress. You saw the Ennead, the Egyptian gods and goddesses, wearing a mesh headpiece with a tail. That is the Marcocan implant. Okay, what it does is it accentuates, it enhances, if you will, the chakra fields around the head and into the brain, into the back. Okay, these are tools that I am in the process of documenting. Okay, now, like I said, I am no expert in any functional field. I am, however, a specialist. The reticulans turned around and went, okay, let's see what we can do with the triple helix. What they found is human hybrids from almost any one of the races work beautifully. There are races you cannot combine a human with. Okay, you cannot take human cell structure and you cannot take a human cell structure and combine it with the cell structure of a holic. Understanding a holic is, by your definition, a fire elemental. Okay, in other words, living fire. So no, you cannot take a human and make a holic, a holic hybrid. Not going to happen. Okay, I did, however, I've actually known in my life 2 active pyrokinetics. Okay, meaning humans that by the power of their mind could light a fire. I know of one that is a hydrokinetic. Okay, you can literally see the shockwave coming out of his hand, hitting the water, and creating the ripple effect without him touching it physically. Whatever you've thought about out there somewhere, you'll probably find it. Okay, and the thing that the reticulans found most disconcerting was humanity's number one ability, even if they weren't aware of it, to tap into 0-point energy. Okay, and what Star Wars turned around and called the Force. Okay, every human born has this capacity, but it was that combined with man's capacity to jump from a totally logical approach, jump completely the wrong direction, and still land on their feet. Okay, couple that, now we get that third point. 0 point energy, imagination, and an absolutely devastating drive for war. Now, in all deference to humans, humans were built for war. Okay, they were literally built for war. Okay, and this is where it gets really absolutely twisted. Okay, when I started writing the Elderbachian Chronicles, I started incorporating all of this information in, going, my imagination is going absolutely bonkers. Okay, where is it? Okay, when I started writing this, I was talking to people and I'm thinking to myself, I'm absolutely flaming bonkers. As we've said, I've been found I'm not. Inside here, okay, I've got the various different races involved. Now, when mankind was built, the triple helix came into absolute play. Okay, even the Cambi worry about it. The Cambi are what you, if you play D&D, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, or you read, if you read any of the myth of the children's stories, the myths and what have you, you would call them elves or dark elves. Okay, the Cambi specifically. Okay, but even they are worried about man's propensity for war. What man is being taught is that war is a great road to peace. I'm telling you, it isn't. War in all of recorded history, and bear in mind, I'm talking lifetimes and planet times of history. Okay, war has never brought peace. So what the reticulans are doing is figuring out how to essentially hybridize these different races without accentuating mankind's propensity for self-destruction and obliteration of the natural world. And yes, I absolutely pointed that. Man has very successfully wiped out species over the years, leading to all kinds of neat little things, not the least of which is, get this one, the Black Death, which, by the way, lost a lot of good friends, made a sheep load of money. I was a coroner that was also immune. But the Black Plague itself was brought about because man decided that all the little cats that were running around were a problem. Okay, so let's kill all the cats and all the little predators because they're dangerous. Net result, the rat population went through the roof, and net result, what do we got here? Rachel's going, I have an eye on the top of my head where the baby soft spot would be, but I only see trees in the sky. Why you gotta do that, Rachel? You just lay down. Walk around like most people today. Just, grab your cell phone, right? Grab your cell phone, look at the ground, and use the eye on the top of your head. I will caution you, if you're wearing a hat, you're going to have a problem. Okay, unless you've got a see-through hat, which is not bad in the rain, but just an idea. Okay, but what the reticulans found is that it wasn't just a question of let's hybridize humans with off-world races. They figured out how to hybridize humans with the rats. Okay, this is the part that people don't get. And it's going to sound like, oh man, Keith has just completely lost his nut. And I can honestly say, yep, here it is. I had lost my marbles, but I found one of them. Found it the other day. So now I keep my marble with me. Of course, in all fairness, it does get a little lonely out there. Or in there. You know, it's neat. You shake your hand. If you've got a marble in your hand and you run the head around, you can get going up to an absolutely phenomenal spin. But, you know, the neat part about it is essentially, you know, Rachel, when you take a look at that soft spot you're referring to, everybody has one. Because as babies are born, as they are brought out, that spot, it's left soft so the head can be compressed. I'm not going into the absolute medical background for it, but suffice it to say, with it being soft, the skull can open up, okay, and separate a little to permit that solid head from getting down the birth canal. After it's out, it's only a few days, the head reforms to its normal shape and then solidifies. After that, don't crush the head. Really bad outcome. Besides that, it gets really gooey on the hands. So when we take a look at what the reticulans were doing, they literally figured out if we work with the triple helix, we can combine them. And you've heard the story of the Pied Piper. Okay, I'm sure you have a children's story from way back. Take a rat and a human, hybridize them. You now have a human that can understand humans and rats and can help with the cleanup. Okay, but again, it still requires getting off your tail feathers to make it work. Now, when we take a look at what the reticulans figured out, they in time got word to the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians came in, worked in orbit with the reticulans. Okay, now get this. The Pleiadians, and I'm sure you've seen it, okay, they have a ship that looks like a solid silver cigar. And this is one of the neat things, Rachel. Rachel's going, same when I lay down. When I lay down inside the house, when it's light inside the house or outside, I have to close my eyes to see. But when it's dark inside or out, I can see with my eyes open. I turn my head differently. Absolutely. I'm laying odds you're also picking up on some of the subquantum going around. That'll come through your ears, by the way. And the neat part there is you're told, oh, look, you've got 2 eyes and 2 ears. You got 3 eyes and 4 ears. Okay. Because, yes, your ears are here, but you also can hear down here. Okay. Down right next to the jugular, you've got more auditory input coming in. Yeah, I'm taking all of what you've been told in the way of the metaphysical field and or in the way of the anatomical field and going, you're overlooking things. But understand something. Okay, my memories date back way further than 1963 when I was physically born this lifetime. And yes, I am starting to tap into it. I finally got it through my head that I've been doing things completely backwards. Therefore, I am putting courses together and written treaties and what have you that will be available as I get them set up for purchase so you can take them home yourself. Okay, or I'll discuss them here. I don't have a problem with it. Here, it'll be free. There, yes, it's going to cost money, but I'm not bothering charging with the amount of time it takes. When we take a look at the triple helix, whatever your imagination says is possible. I will tell you, I'm a firm believer it is. However, if you think, oh, I can fly, this is fantastic, I have no doubt you can. However, common sense might be an idea. Go to a curb not facing traffic, or at least not on a busy traffic-ridden home. Okay, step off the curb with the thought, I can fly. If it works, or when it works, take your pick. You fly, no problem. If it doesn't work, dropping 6 inches unexpectedly is a whole lot less painful than dropping 15 floors. And whether you believe in gravity or not is 100% irrelevant. Whether you believe it's a push or a pull doesn't matter, because you step off a 14-foot balcony, I'm telling you, gravity is likely to beat you. And it's never the fall that hurts. Fall might scare the daylight out of you, but it's a sudden landing on the bottom. That's what's going to screw up your circulation. Now, the reticulans. Absolutely you can, Rachel. I've actually got memories of doing it in my body that were corroborated by my father. Now, of course, the sad reality there is Dad's passed away. So I'm going to have a little bit of a problem there. And no, at this point, I cannot physically fly. Doesn't mean I'm not working on it. Okay, each and every one of you has the capacity for astral travel, as in flying without your body. As a matter of fact, this is all contained inside the triple. Okay, when you get outside your body, if you've ever had a dream of flying around without any sort of aerial conveyance, no plane, no helicopter, no hang glider, nothing. Okay. Joe, right there, Joe goes, yeah, and he goes, my third eye probably won't kick in fully until the clocks go back an hour. Halloween, then November. That's when the cemetery will fully manifest. Well, let's cut that down piece at a time, shall we? The cemetery's already there. Okay, it's already fully manifested. As I mentioned the other day when you showed me a picture of the cemetery, it's already active. But the issue that you're looking at, and this applies to every one of you, when you tell yourself it won't work until then, okay, you're literally throwing up a roadblock. I suggest that you do your best to turn that around. Okay, because rest assured, when I looked in the cemetery, it was mind-boggling how many different people were not in their graves. I mean, it's great. You know, whoever said the dead just lay there really did not know what they were talking about. Now, the reticulans, when they figured everything out, started actually looking at things going, okay, we know where we're heading. We know what we can do here. But we've got to make sure that we don't overload the system. And this is why when the Pleiadians showed up, the reticulans and the Pleiadians collaborated in order to come up with the idea of putting an image, an overlay into humans' brains. Very easy to do. Okay, to put a thought into human brains that they were either looking at an owl or at a deer. Very easy to do, but that was at the behest of the Pleiadians. Now, to be clear, you're not about to see a purebred Pleiadian standing on Earth or even flying in Earth without a complete biosuit, because the atmosphere on Earth will kill them. Okay. Now, what do we got here? Now, here's the neat thing. Okay, when we start looking at what does all this mean to you? Well, the reality is this. Remember I said whatever you can put your mind to, you can work with. Okay, now I'm going to have to actually, I'm going to ask a real loaded question. What is the smallest micro gauge magnet that anybody knows of that's reasonably easily accessible? I've got something I'm in the middle of striving to build. And to be blunt, I'm looking at building the Mercalcan planet that the Ennead used. The reality is I'm not about to tell anybody how to build it until I've tested it. Okay. Unlike on Facebook the other day, somebody was talking about something that was being left out that was dangerous. And what this genius did was go, you shouldn't touch this because it's really dangerous. Here's exactly how to make it. Now, why therefore, what's the one reason that I won't show people until I've tested it what the Mercalcan planet possibly is capable of doing? Anybody got any idea? The thing is, the way it was put to me is this. When your mind can conceive it and your heart can believe it, you can achieve it. Okay? There is very little in existence that you cannot set in motion. There's a lot I would recommend you don't. But like they said in Jurassic Park, in the movie Jurassic Park, the first one, mankind is so interested in what they can do, they seldom think whether it's a good idea. Okay, now let me ask you this. If there were one thing you would desire to make happen, to change in your life, what would it be? Doesn't matter how big or how small it is. And by the way, that neat little idea that some of you jumped to, I'd like peace on earth. So would I. Absolutely would. I've been around here for several thousand lifetimes. Way beyond several thousand in all fairness. But people are still promoting fear, greed, gluttony, the whole 9 yards. Okay. And they're still telling you blame everybody else. Now understand, we had the same problem with the reticulans. Okay. They nearly wiped themselves out. And as a matter of fact, some of the races they did wipe out. I know of one race in particular, they were an absolute waterbound race. Okay. But because of the reticulum wars, they were that whole race, that whole breed got wiped out. Mankind is trying to do the exact same thing. I'm here to hopefully, and I've tried this before, thus far it's been totally ineffective. The funny thing is, like Joe goes, it really is an amazing thing and frightening that at night, after hours, those souls come out of the graves, but in the form of orbs. Funny thing there, Joe, is the reason you see them at night is because they glow. Okay, that's what many people call the aura. During the day, it's harder to spot. Okay, but if you take your hand and hold it up in front of you, take a look at the field around it. Now, if it is an equidistant field, probably only maybe a 1/4 inch deep. Okay, if it's equidistant around the fingers, okay, you're likely looking at the aura. If it's only on one side, you may have a problem with your optic nerve. Okay, odd way of looking at it, but it works. Now, the neat I gotta ask Rachel because I lose myself. In case you hadn't noticed, I turn around and go off in about 15 directions at the same time. Maybe why I'm working on like 33 or 34 books concurrently right now, but I am starting to tie them off. But I gotta ask, what would be wonderful? Maybe I can move it to the front of the line and see what I can do with it. The fact of the matter is, the way my brain works, it runs off in every direction possible all at once. I have no idea how you guys think about one thing at a time. It has never worked for me. Which is why I can be writing horoscopes. I can be dictating horoscopes while I'm reading that book that so many people talked about. I finished my brother's book. And I am now reading, and believe it or not, probably close to a decade later, Game of Thrones. On top of with the other two. Perfect. That is, and I do agree with you there. I try, thanks for clarifying, Rachel. The reality is the more that we can spread this and spread news, that all peoples are equal. Okay. The more we do that, the better chance this world has at putting wars to rest. Okay. Now I spent decades in the Roman Senate trying to warn them that the path they were going down was going to lead to a gladiatorial revolt, to a societal revolt. They did not believe me. Told me I was completely off my nut. Right. Well, and I forget who started it. It was not my fault. All I did when I came back the next lifetime, because I knew it was going to happen, so I orchestrated being a gladiator. And all I did was tell the gladiators, I know you guys are going to go to war. I know this. I know innocent people are going to get killed. But please keep in mind, if somebody is running away from you, they are not a threat. If a soldier puts down his weapons and says, and puts his hands up saying, I'm done, let them live. I know you're going to target the politicians. They're the ones that I tried convincing this was a bad path. Okay, now we're at a similar state. Mankind is on the verge again of either turning the corner to enlightenment, to actual peace, or blowing itself right back to the Stone Age. Yes, matter of fact, come to think of it, now that you mentioned the name LA, I believe it was Spartacus that did spearhead the revolt. I was not Spartacus. As a matter of fact, essentially, I was a nobody. Every lifetime that you go through, I've only run into one. I ran into one King Henry VIII. One, I think I've run into Catherine the Great, but I'm not entirely certain. Okay, I know a guy that actually knows who Attila the Hun was. Okay, and again, he wasn't Attila the Hun. Only one person will have been King Henry VIII. One will have been Caesar. Okay, Caesar Augustus. Or, if you will, Julius Caesar. I think that's the same person. It might be two different ones. Okay, there was only one Spartacus. There was only one Yeshua, one Buddha. There was only one Helen of Troy. And yet I hear all kinds of people go, oh, in a past life I was this magnificent person. One of my most enjoyable lives, I was a fisherman. A young one, but a fisherman nonetheless. What you can do with the triple helix. And again, all you got to do, take your hands, put them palms towards each other until you can feel the energy. Focus on the word heal. it will put things back in alignment so that you can access your other memories. And one day our lungs will work. So, and by the way, LA, yes, I did actually grab Bite to Eat before I started. But I should check. Oh, still got water too. So, these are things you can do. Okay. Take the word can't out of your equation. Okay. Now, when I was growing up, there was a poem, and I certainly suggest you. Oh, there we are. Thanks, LA. Like I said, I am not a history buff. I know I met Julius Caesar. I was not Julius, but I met the man when I was only 6 at the time. Okay. And I met many of the great people. Of course, bear in mind I have a tendency of coming in here with the same purpose. Okay. Some past lives I remember in great detail, other ones not so much. Okay. But I will tell you that through accessing through that healing method I showed you here, palms towards each other, a quarter to a half an inch apart, get them as close as you need to feel them. Then focus on the energy with the word heal. Your memory of what's in the Akashic records is not gone. The database, the data tree, if you compare it to a computer, the data tree is what's been moved sideways. It's been completely scrambled. But that's what we're in the process of rebuilding. Okay. And again, changing your physical environment is so much easier than changing the mental one. Okay. It's just a question of focus. Okay. And like I said, an ex of mine at one point told me the meaning of the word focus. Now, normally, if you tell somebody to focus, I'm just going to completely scramble your brain here. If you tell somebody to focus because they're not getting what you say and you're getting frustrated with it, just tell them to focus. Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you so much, LA. Just jumping backwards here. Augustus was the one mentioned by the Bible. Now, I'm all in the Bible. On the throne at the birth of Christ. Okay. That was Caesar Augustus. Now, the neat thing there, okay, is I'm only a third of the way through reading the Bible. I will eventually finish it. Then we have Julius Caesar, who is involved with Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Okay. Oh, and Julius Caesar was several years ahead of Augustus. Now, the neat part, Ken Stockler, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. Like I said, this one girlfriend, she turned around and she goes, look, if you're ever getting frustrated trying to explain something to somebody, just tell them to focus. Now, most people, if you tell them to focus, they will turn around and go, okay, you want me to concentrate and pay attention. This girlfriend turned around and she goes, what focus means? And this is you're never going to look at focus the same way again, in all likelihood. Unless you got a memory like mine and you forget what I'm about to tell you. Focus is an acronym. F off, cause you're stupid. Okay. And then you just go focus and you walk away. Now, I will tell you, you're not likely to look at that word properly again. But that's my gift to you, to scramble your brain. The triple helix contains all the information to, once you access it, in conjunction with working with naturopaths, doctors, nutritionists, metaphysicians, it will help you bring it all together under one roof and put your body in better shape than it's been in decades. Okay, now granted, my eyes are not back to perfect yet, but they're getting there. Okay, my knee, because it's a complete major skeletal rewrite, it may be a bit of an issue. But my ability to remember is coming back on track. And the fact I've dropped 60 pounds in 2 years, okay, literally means the methods I'm working with work. Okay. And yes, that is something else. I got a whole pile of information I've got to get written. Okay. And it has created some problems, but at least I'm getting back on track with it. Whoop, don't need that. So I will tell you, belief is only part of the problem. There was an African shaman years ago that was absolutely convinced that he had the ability through the power of his mind alone. Okay, through the power of his mind with the chanting support, because groups working together do make energy more palpable. He was absolutely convinced that he could actually survive a bullet shot, being shot. He could stop it with that he was so well in tune that any bullet would just pass and would just bounce off him. So he got a whole crew of Westerners up that brought in the camera crews and everything. And this is decades back. Don't ask me what year. Okay. But he brings them all into place. Everybody's out there. They're all praying and chanting. Energy's running high. The guy that they got to do it pulls the gun out, points at the shaman, pulls the trigger. That afternoon, they buried the shaman. For some weird reason, that bullet didn't get the message that he was bulletproof. Okay, kind of like the bumblebee that scientists tell everybody, oh, the bumblebee can't fly. Nobody told the bumblebee. But whatever you set your mind to, okay. Now, I could go into all sorts of things, and I will be posting some of it on social media as I'm pushing things through. Because I'll tell you, I made some pretty serious mistakes when I was growing up. Well, when I was younger. I'm still trying to figure out if I grew up. One person told me flat out, I may have been younger, but I was never a kid. And where are we? Oh, look at that. Now, one thing that I will tell you, okay, I took a look at money as I was growing up and went, I didn't say it was the root of all evil. I will tell you, greed is a bigger problem, but fear is the root. Okay, you have only two emotions to deal with. And again, remember that thing about 1 + 1 = 3? We have your positive side, the things you believe you can do, the things you believe you can't, and everything else in the middle. Thank you very much for that, Ellie. Okay, whether you believe you are capable or you believe you aren't, ultimately you're going to likely prove yourself correct. When I was younger, I took a look at money and went, I've got no use for it. I'm telling you, this is one of those projects I'm working on, is to help people. Matter of fact, I got to translate this one. And I just figured out how to translate it. I'm going to translate this one. Now, get this. Not those. I go to these. Now, this one here believe in your finances and follow your dreams. This is already available. This one, Fortunes Forever, is a much more intricate look into how to track money. If you don't know how, this one I'll get into print and it'll become available as well. Although, in case you couldn't tell, it may be a little thicker than this one, therefore probably a little bit more expensive. Depends on what it costs me. Okay, but I'll get back to you on that. Okay, but there's lots of books out there, and again, I have lived lifetimes where I was a multimillionaire. Okay, where I had all the money I could desire. I lived where I was on the street, and everything in between. Okay, this is why I say you tap into the triple helix. You can remember past skills. Okay, I am an absolute pacifist in this lifetime. I do not agree with war. I do not agree with fighting. I do believe it happens. Do not get me wrong. A little hard to argue the point. But I will tell you, in all of recorded history, I have never heard of war actually bringing peace. It brings quiet. Okay, it really does. But I am looking at setting a whole different path in line here. Okay, the thing I'm asking your guys' help for is real simple. Help get people aware that we are no longer walking down this road based on fear and self-neglect. Okay, and we're getting away from the whole idea of self-abuse, even if you're not aware you're doing it. Okay, every communication line I've ever seen between any people, okay, has always been a 50-50 problem. Always. And I don't use that term very often. And before somebody jumps on that, no, I am not perfect. Not by any functional stretch. But, as Joe Stewart was kind enough to point out, I am doing my best. Now, let me ask you this, guys. Are you content with the way the world is sitting right now? With what you're seeing happening? With the elections? With the wars going on? With the way different countries, different communities, and for that matter, different businesses are being run? Is your business, your home, running as smoothly as you would like? If the answer is no, this is where we start shifting gears. Okay, now I have to teach myself how to market because the so-called professionals did an absolutely pathetic job and nearly broke me altogether. But that's why these books are available at the top of the stream at the buymeacoffee.com / inner voice J. All of the books I've written, all of the consulting, just the support, all of it is available right through there. Okay, yes, they work with the payment as well, or I also deal with PayPal. One thing we have to keep in mind. Okay, the one thing we do have to keep in mind is if we're going to change this world, we have to start working together. Because I'll tell you what we've been doing isn't working. Okay, in case you hadn't noticed, the people that are supposed to be leading us, that everybody has either elected or permitted to step in. Okay, all of them are leading us down a very black path. Well, no, not all. There are a few that stand out. Okay, now is the time to really get up. And like I said, you desire your life to change. Tap in to the triple helix. It, in and of itself, has a staggering amount of information available to you for no cost at all. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking if it's zero cost, aside from effort, it may be well worth looking into. The one thing that we have to remember is that no matter how you're doing it, if you take a look at the way your world is running, take a look at what you're not content with. Start altering it one step at a time. By doing that, when all is said and done, when it is all said and done, what ends up happening is that you're left with only the things you're content with in your life. Okay, now I will tell you, right now, I've got some serious complications, which I'm not going to go into at this moment. But rest assured, with the way finances are, I am really, really tight for what I'm trying to pull off. I'm still not going to be charging for this. Okay, the newsletter is still going out absolutely free. Books, sorry, they're going to remain in a cost fashion. But we are looking at turning them into ebooks and what have you in order to get the information out. The other issue, of course, is if there is a topic you would like to look into, or one you'd like me to open the door on. Honestly, I'm not a researcher, but if you take a look at my past lives, I've got a staggering amount of information I'm sitting on. If you've got a topic, if you've got questions around anything, ask. And I like the way Callie put it here. The bullet usually wins. The funny thing is, nobody told the bullet that it couldn't bounce. That it had to bounce. So it never got the message. I was told when you're growing up that you die, you end up in the morgue, that's it, you're dead. You go to heaven, you go to hell, but you're dead. I didn't agree with them, so I left. Apparently, they didn't tell me. And no, I'm not suicidal. I found out today actually. I looked it up on the net for clinical definition. I am probably, and you're going to love this coming out of me given what I talk about. You're going to absolutely love this part. According to clinical definition, or more to the point, dictionary definition on the internet, okay, apparently I am one of the most well-developed pessimistic cynics on the planet. I've got both of those down to a fine art, but I am still firmly convinced that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I love the way the American military put it. The difficult we're already doing. The impossible just takes us a little longer. That's the kind of attitude that it would do you very well, regardless where you are in the world. That kind of an outlook would do you the world of good to adopt it here. Okay. Now, the other thing I was told was when your mind, when your head and your heart are in conflict, follow your heart, but use your head to get there. Okay. This applies to everything. If you feel something is wrong, act on it. Okay. If you feel something is not going the way you're aiming for, be sure you follow the 3 karmic laws. And I have to tell the different races the same thing. You'd be amazed how many of these advanced races still think war is a great thing. War is not a great thing. Never has been. I mean, definitely, where it comes to individuals who step up to the plate and get into the military or into first responders to protect their families, their community, their country, absolutely hats off to you. Like I said, I didn't go into the military because the military up in Canada here had some conflict of interest. Something about automatic weapons and epileptics. I don't know, I can pull a trigger real easy when I get stressed. I can't see the problem. Bullets come out the right end because I don't point them towards me. Like I said, I'm not suicidal. Okay. Do I have my hiccups? Certainly. But I will tell you, I mentioned this the other day. Okay. I still get these, and this is that thing about draw your own boundaries. Okay. I get a staggering number of people that are still reaching out to me going, oh, Keith, your website looks great, but give us X dollars and we can make it better and we can make it better. Okay. If you happen to be one of those people that is reaching out to me for that purpose, or the other one I'm about to mention, okay, I'm not paying again for a so-called professional that is going to promise to improve my visibility or increase my sales. I will pay very well for people that pull it off. Okay, I'm not about to go, oh, I'm going to take your word for it. Way too many professional companies that I've spent thousands of dollars on have not come up with the outcome. So if you're one of these people that's listening to this video going, hey, I can help you and I can do it for this much money, don't bother because it's not going to happen. The other thing I get a staggering number of people contacting me about is they'll contact me through, of all places, Skype or LinkedIn. Oh, Keith, we should, I'd like to get to know you better. They're in and they are coming at it with the idea of connecting with a relationship. Okay. I'm already quite happily involved. I'm not even bothering to look. And I would love people to get it straight. Absolutely reach out to talk to me. Absolutely do. Except those two fields, I'll shut down. It's like, I'm not dealing with it. And yes, I'm very good at hanging up on people. And, this is something to remember. Like, I look at what I'm telling you about the different races, the different things going on out there. Okay, yes, a lot of what I'm telling you contradicts what you may have heard. Some of you have come back and said that corroborates what we've been told. Okay, I'm fully aware that I'm very much on the fringe. Okay, but then so have many of the people in history been on the outside edge. Okay, what we are looking at now is an opportunity to put our heads together, look at the world, and come up with ideas as to where we can make a better run. Okay, it just boils down to we have to take a look at it and go, okay, where are the similarities in the peoples around this world? Not just the humans. Okay, the off-worlders, the ancient races, the local flora and fauna. All of it is connected. All of them desire to be treated the same, with respect, with honor. They desire food. They desire water. Okay, varying different degrees of it. But it is by working together with all of this in mind that we are going to turn this world around. If we don't, with the level of greed and fear that is being propagated right now, we go back to the Stone Age. Because what information we do have, most of it happens to be on net now. And if the power fails, most people do not know it up here. There are a few that do. Okay, but not many. And rest assured, I am not one of the ones that could even hope to put a computer together. I have no clue how to do the initial refining. All of it's been automated. However, I can tell you, one step at a time, one minor change at a time, and you can change your world for what you consider the better. Now, I have been told that if I desire things to grow on my end, and if we desire this world to draw back together and to unify, we are going to have to work at it. But we cannot effectively do it if we do not communicate. And this is where this stream is sitting. Okay, this is where we're looking right now. You people that are here now are the backbone of what happened, of what this world evolves into. Now, get this, and I'm only going to touch on this for a second. Okay, centuries back, one man came along, and many people have done this. One that so many people refer to came along and essentially said, "Let's be nice to each other." Now, that person started off drawing 12 people with him. 12. We have 637. Okay. Now, do I claim to be able to do what he did? Absolutely not. Okay. All I'm telling you is I look at the world in a different fashion. I will tell you wholeheartedly, when we choose to work together to follow karmic law, be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. Energy out, energy in. When you choose to follow that, and you'll notice 3, 1 plus 1 equals 3. Okay. When you look at that and you choose to follow those teachings, what you'll find is that the negative parts of the world no longer apply quite as heavily. Again, if you're watching something negative, watching, listening to, having a conversation about, okay, anything negative, if you deal with one thing negative, invariably find 2 things positive to look at. Now, it may be something as simple as, gee, I heard about a real shaft job at the bank today. And you walk into the bathroom and you go, I like the way my clothing hangs on me and my hair's just gorgeous. Those are still 2 positive things. This is where we start. Okay, we start with you. Well, in all fairness, I started with me. Okay, for some reason, my ability to put my foot in my mouth has not gone to total uselessness. Apparently, I can stick my foot in my mouth without any real effort. Good, I don't have to learn how. Diplomacy might be something I should look at. But I figure I look at it so I can tell people. I can work fascinates me. I can watch it for hours. Diplomacy fascinates me. I can listen to it for hours, but the problem is I can't find any logic to it. The nice part about it is that as long as we work together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I'm really glad you guys dropped in. If you've got more questions regarding the triple helix or anything else, absolutely drop me a line. Ask me live. I don't have a problem with it. I'm in the process of documenting everything I know. Because let's face it, when I die, it all goes with me. Unless I've got it written down. Okay, that's the neat little part of it. Now, one of the biggest things that we have to look at is this world is on one little verge. Okay, we are literally sitting on the verge of either evolving into a much happier, much more peace-driven world, or we're going to bomb ourselves right back to the Stone Age. Okay, that is just the reality of it. Now, with this in mind, I've just been informed, thank you very much, LA, we've hit the 5-minute mark. With this in mind, thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again. I will be back tomorrow. Now, I got to figure out, and Storm is probably well on top of this. Where are we?
Tomorrow's the Anunnaki.
Bingo.
And Sunday will be creation and working with miniatures.
Oh, yes. See, this is why I've got Storm in the background. Thank you very much, Storm. I write it on my hard copy calendar, but it sits in the dark a lot. So do I. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for sharing your time with us today. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Bring your friends, bring your strangers, bring everybody. Okay. And we will talk to you then. Until then, now I will be on Spaced Out tonight at 9 o'clock. Until I talk to you again, take care of yourselves and each other. And for